Well, yeah. Well, I've got my normal is overrated shirt on, which is kind of what we're talking about. I spent a lot of time talking with people in this business, and I think a lot of people who have a mental illness feel like they have no chance of being successful or happy because they have their illness, and that those of us who are perceived to be normal have it made. And I just want to tell you that's not really the case. We all have our challenges. In fact, hey, Rick, thanks for tuning in. I don't know who is normal. That whole concept of normal to me is kind of funny. Ask yourself, think of all your friends and your family. Who is normal? Can barely hear me. Okay, I don't know what to do but get closer. Get right in your face. Is that any better? I don't have a microphone or a volume switch. I don't think that I can work with. Let me see. I don't think that probably makes any difference. Can you hear me any better? Because this is all brilliant stuff I'm going to be saying, so I want you to be able to hear. I just try to talk louder. Is that any better? You really don't need me this close. Anyway, I guess let me know if that's any better. I'll keep talking. Think about the people you know, and okay, thank you, Bill. Who do you know who's normal? Because when I look around, my friends and family, we all got our issues, I like to say. Okay, yeah, you're welcome. We all got our issues. I don't care who you are, what your thing is, you have something. I believe that we're all a little bit off balance. No one has perfect brain chemistry, so we're all a little off somehow, and we're all looking for that balance. Okay, cool. Uh, we're all looking for a balance, and we all have different ways of maybe trying to achieve that. Some people might go for a jog. Uh, some people, it might be eating healthy. Some people, it might be a drink or a smoke or whatever. We're all looking for a place where we feel at peace, we feel level, we don't feel torn, we're comfortable. And that's not that easy to achieve. People do meditation, all kinds of things, medications, prayer, journaling. There's all kinds of things that might be helpful as we try to reach a place where we feel at peace inside, I guess. And so if you think you are not normal and you're at a disadvantage, I like you to rethink that because I think we all are crazy to some extent. Nobody has perfect brain chemistry, so uh, we're all irrational at times. And oh, I should say, I keep saying we're all a little bit crazy. So if I thought, I keep saying that, I should look up the definition of crazy. And the definition of crazy is not in one's right mind, and right mind is defined as sane and rational. And there are times that all of us are irrational and times that we question our sanity. So I think at least at times we are all crazy because humans are not logical beings, we're emotional beings. So, but yet we look at one another and we expect each other to act rationally, but that's not really practical. Ask any used car salesman, he'll tell you we're not logical. Uh, you go buy a used car, or it could be a new car. You go home and you tell your spouse, I got this car and I bought it because it's got real good resale value, it gets good gas mileage, it holds its value. Uh, yeah. We know you just want to drive fast and look cool. You made an emotional decision, you fell in love with the car, and you bought it. And now you got all your reasons that you can go home and tell your partner why you bought it so that it sounded like it was a well thought out, rational decision. We know how that works. So it's the same thing. That's how we go through life. We make an emotional decision, and we think of the reasons to back up what we're feeling inside. And we're generally more worried about our feelings than we are about facts or anything else. You want to feel good. You want to feel at peace in your heart. And whatever it takes to achieve that, that's usually what we're up for. But part of the problem is we are amazingly ignorant in our country when it comes to mental illness and addiction. Now, when my brother Patrick was first diagnosed with schizophrenia many years ago, probably 30 years ago now, we went to the library and got books on it, and they were way out of date. It wasn't really good information. It was saying that, oh, it's the mother's fault if a child has a mental illness. Of course, that killed my mom, not literally, but it's not true. Everybody has something. It's in every family. I see families argue over, oh, where did our child get their mental illness? Was it from your family or my family? It's everywhere. It's just some people talk about it, a lot of people don't. So you don't know that it's in their family. Um, but really, there's no good reason for being ignorant about mental illness and addiction anymore. The information is readily available now on the internet. You know, get on there and educate yourself and learn about the various illnesses, and especially, I feel sorry for anybody that has a mental illness or addiction because we're so ignorant and yet we're so judgmental. People who don't know anything really about these illnesses feel free to judge others who might have the disease, and that kind of upsets me because they're not qualified. And none of us are supposed to judge anyone anyway. The Bible will tell you, unless you want to be judged. But anyway, we're all going through struggles. I have people come up to me and say, "Well, what would you know? You got a perfect life. You know, what would you know what it's like to be me? Like a perfect life? How do I have a perfect life?" I lost everything. I had a big house in Dublin, 7 cars, a 6-figure income. Living in, I guess you'd call it kind of a mansion on an estate, acreage. And I lost everything. I lost my job, lost my family. I lost everything. And then my son died. And my dad died. And I sure don't have it all. Make sure you hit post video, Paul. Okay, thank you. I will. We all have our challenges. Nobody's got a perfect life. And we're all just trying to make it through the day, you know. We'd like to think that we're all having a good day and we're all supporting one another, but the truth is most of us are just trying to get through the day. And you know, some days that's easy and some days that's not easy at all. But anyway, what I wanted to say is we're really ignorant about these things, and we owe it to ourselves and to others to educate ourselves. Spend a little time researching these illnesses and diseases and learn about them. And one thing I've found is a lot of people who have issues, they have no idea what their triggers are. They have no idea what calms them. They have no idea what helps them. And as I think you have a responsibility to learn about your condition, and you can advise people that are around you so that they can do a better job of interacting with you. I know people who they get panic attacks and they'll call me, "Oh, what do I do? Well, I'm having a panic attack." Well, change whatever you're doing. If you're alone, get with somebody. If you're with somebody, get alone. If you're in a quiet room, put on the TV or some music. If you're in a place where there's noise, go find a quiet space. You know, change something and keep a log of maybe what you were doing and what was helping or what was not helping, so that in the future you'll be better equipped to adjust. People can be very insensitive. Yes, they are. And that gets back to ignorant. They don't know. So many people think, well, if you have a brain disorder, you're just acting out. You're trying to get attention, whatever the case might be. That's what I'm talking about. We're ignorant. And there's really no excuse for it because the information's out there now. But we, too, all need to educate ourselves. And you should be the expert on you. And know, again, what's your condition and what are the triggers and what calms you. And share that with the people who are with you so they can support you and not accidentally hit one of your triggers. And if you don't know what your triggers are, keep a journal until you figure it out. And one thing that's big in the treatment world today is making a recovery plan. I don't know if any of you are doing this, but I don't know all the elements, but I worked on a grant for Allwell and to start offering these, and I think they got some money for it. But one of the things you would have is a list of people that you could count on to support you, their names, numbers, I don't care if it's friends, relatives, neighbors, pastors. I don't care. Could be the ice cream man. I don't care. Who can you call when you're having a bad moment, and that will support you? You should have a list of those people, and because when you're in a moment, when you're in a crisis, that's not the time to start thinking, who can I call? Because your brain is not in a good place to think about that in a good way or logical way, and you might end up calling people who would actually be worse for you than doing nothing. So spend some time thinking about that, and maybe even talk to some of those people. Recovery Support Network, yeah. There's a lot of people out there going through similar struggles, and they can advise you, or at least sympathize or hear you out. But so work on that list of people that you can talk to, who will support you, and especially when it comes to addiction, you really have to have a plan. Or even if you're going to quit smoking, you have to have a plan. If you're just going to say, "Well, I'm going to just use willpower to not use or not to smoke or whatever," yeah, you're probably not going to work. Now, although because I've had 9 surgeries and I've had a lot of back issues, and they were giving me 250 Percocet a month, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was just taking them as prescribed, and for many years. And I thought, you know what, I've been on these too long, and I still have pain. So I don't want to keep taking these. And I hear in the media what horrible effects people have. So I went to my doctor and I asked, short-term goals? Yeah? You should have short-term, intermediate, long-term goals? Rick? Absolutely. I don't know if I'm addressing your question there, but I went to my doctor and said, I've been hearing in the media how bad the effects can be of being on some of these opiates, and so I don't want to keep taking all these pills. And he says, well, I'll tell you what, I'll take you off the Percocet and I'll put you on Oxycontin. I said, well, wait, isn't that stronger? He said, yeah, but instead of taking 6 Percocet, you're going to take 2 Oxycontin. I said, no, I don't want to take any pills. Oh, okay, I'll give you liquid morphine. Is that what you're wanting? I'm like, oh my God. I don't want to take anything. I want to quit. I just want you to help me figure out, how do I stop? And he just, just wean yourself off, and walked out. Okay, well, wean yourself off. How do I do that? So I just quit cold turkey. And I went through withdrawal. I went through hell. I didn't know what I was doing. But I realized after a couple days, I was going through withdrawal. Actually, my friend Doug told me, he said, you're going through withdrawal, idiot. Oh, okay, well, I didn't know. I've never been through withdrawal. But I'm not turning around now. And, so many people who have a drug issue will say, well, I'm going to get sick, and I don't want to get sick. Well, it's not the worst thing. Now, alcohol, you can die from withdrawal, but drugs, usually not. So it might be hell, but if you get off of it, it's worth it. I was done with that in a month and ready to go. And that was, 10 years ago. Never looked back. But the excuses that people make to continue doing their drug is kind of silly. And it's like everybody else wants them to get better, and they're just playing the game and so they can get back to doing their drugs. That gets, I can't support that. And anyway, what else did I want to say? Well, I could get on my soapbox, but we really should be ashamed of ourselves as a society. What the average person thinks, Bill says, is a normal person is unrealistic and unnatural. Yeah, what is normal? I would say normal is more of a, thanks, Cassandra. I appreciate that. It wasn't hard for me to stop the pills. I was never, in my mind, psychologically addicted, I guess, maybe. Physically I was, but, and my son pointed out I took them as prescribed, which a lot of people don't, I guess. But anyway, I forget what I was going to say, but, for any other illness, people get casseroles and cards and people come to visit. But if you have a brain disorder, drug addiction, nobody sends cards or cakes or casseroles or comes to visit because you chose to do that drug and uh, your mental illness you're probably faking to get attention. See, there's the ignorance again. When in fact, you're fighting a heroic battle every day against a devastating illness. If you have a serious mental illness, my brother has schizophrenia, and he's my hero. Every day he gets up and he works on his recovery and tries to help others on their journey. And he's not out doing drugs and causing trouble and having run-ins with the law or any of that stuff. And he's leading his recovery. It's not that we all are wanting it for him, and he's just trying to get by. He's in charge of his recovery, and there's where some goals come in, Rick. He has goals. He wants to achieve his potential, and he sits down and he's had a plan, and he's been to college. He has a couple college degrees. He's led support groups. He speaks and he writes on recovery and his experiences. And that's one of the best things you can do. They say it's one of the final steps of recovery is sharing your story with others. Because we all need to hear success stories um, so that we know that people do recover. So if you have a good story, once you're successful, share your story with others so they can be inspired by your success and realize that they too can recover. Um, because we all get discouraged sometimes and feel like it's hopeless and I'm never going to get out of this, and that's why you need that list of people that you can talk to who will support you when you need it. But if I could just rant for a minute about what a waste it is that the jails and prisons are the number one provider of mental health services in our society. That's barbaric, and we should be ashamed in our society that this is what we do. If you have mental illness and addiction, we put you in the jails and prisons. That's crazy. We know that doesn't help. People don't get treatment in there for the most part. Now, some people will argue that you got to hit rock bottom in order to turn around, and jail or prison a lot of times is that for somebody. Thanks, Mike. A lot of times it takes getting in jail to decide what you really want for your life. But still, get in there and get sober maybe, and then you're not going to be working on your recovery and jail. You're probably learn how to be a better criminal and maybe do more drugs or who knows what. So I talk to Troy Balderson routinely. So when are we going to get the mentally ill and the drug addicted out of the jails and prisons and make room for the real criminals? This is insane. When you talk about insanity, but that's just so wrong. And treatments are better than ever. So they're coming out with new treatments all the time, new medications and other therapies. So if you have tried a medicine in the past and you didn't have success, it might be time to try again. A lot of people will say, well, I tried medication and they'll send me get a better dealer from jail, prison. That's what I hear. If you've tried medication in the past and it wasn't successful, there's more treatments out now, new medications that are helpful. My brother with the schizophrenia, he had difficulty for years. He's done okay. But since he started Zoloft, he's so much better. He said he kisses the Zoloft pill every day and thanks it for giving him his life back. Because he was always very funny and clever, and his personality kind of disappeared when he got on heavy medication for his schizophrenia. And now with today's medications, he's much more himself. His sense of humor's back, his wittiness and dry sense of humor, it's all back. And he's better than he's ever been. The other part, as far as medication goes, is a lot of people don't realize, number one, you have to be on a medication for a couple of months to really see if it works. So many people I know, they took a pill for a day or a week or even a month and decided it was no good. Well, that may not be enough, but they said the average person takes 7 tries to find the best medicine for you. So if you've only tried it once or even twice, you might want to try it again because it takes some trial and error to find the best medication for you that allows you to be at your maximum functionality. Which brings me to a point. Autism talks about a spectrum, and I think that's would be appropriate for all of us to look at our mental health on a spectrum. It's like, how functional are you with your crazy? You know, are you real functional with your crazy? I mean, you're having a bad day. I mean, we all have times where we're probably not very functional. I've been there. Yeah, I'm having a moment and I'm a mess. So right that moment, I might be on the real low end of the spectrum, but tomorrow I might be on the high end. So I think it changes all the time. But we all have our issues, as I said, and sometimes even things that people view as positive, to me, are still excessive. Because I always say, I went through 6 different antidepressants before finding one that worked. Carly, yeah, thank you. I'm hearing that's kind of the average of the norm. So, but I was going to say, I know people who, unless they go run 10 miles, they're going to have a bad day. That's where they get their peace of mind. And I think that's excessive. Okay, Rick, glad you could tune in. Yeah, I hope you can watch the rest later because I got great stuff coming, I'm sure. Good to hear from you, man. And hope you're doing well up there. To me, anything in excess is bad. I say moderation in everything. I don't care what you're doing. You be moderate about it, and it's not running your life. You know, chances are you'll be okay. But keep in mind, a person with a mental illness or addiction, they're people too. A lot of people look down their nose, oh, they're mentally ill or they're a drug addict, and they look down their nose and judge them as a bad person. And, you know, they're just like you and me, trying to get through the day. They may have made a bad decision, and their brain chemistry might keep them repeating some mistakes and making some bad decisions, but that doesn't mean they're a bad person. So don't generalize like that. That's where stereotypes come from. Stereotypes are always unfair and inaccurate. So try not to do that. Cassandra, I did that genetic testing. I've taken almost everything they can prescribe before finding one that worked. Okay, yeah. If you know a family member has had success with a certain medication, that's always good to know and share with the doctor because chances are it's going to work for you too. So that's maybe one way that you can save some of that trial and error. But let's see. One of the toughest parts is if you or a loved one has a brain disorder is we always trust our brain, right? I know all day, every day, people are telling me, Paul, you should have done this. Paul, you should do this. Had you thought about that? And I got to take what's given to me and filter that, and I decide, okay, what's best for me, because I know me better than anybody. And so I know what I need and what I don't need. But the problem is, if you have a brain disorder, you think you know what's best for you, but you probably don't. Because we always think we're fine, and everybody else is crazy. They go, you know, I don't know what their problem is. I'm okay. They're crazy. But what happens when you're the one that really is crazy? And that's real hard to convince yourself that it's okay. And you really have to find somebody that you love and trust to give you honest feedback on that. I know for my brother, it was my father. He would go to my father and say, you know, I'm perceiving this and that. Am I correct? And my dad's like, no, you're having delusions and hallucinations, and none of that's happening. And my brother said, you can't imagine how difficult it is to set aside your perceptions and go along with what somebody else is telling you. He said, Paul, it's like saying, I'm not holding up my hand. I'm not. If you think you see me holding up my hand, there's something wrong with you because I'm not holding it up. So, and you have to overrule your brain in the case of schizophrenia and realize that assuming you trust the person who's telling you that, they really aren't holding up their hand, even though you're seeing it. He said, that's so difficult, and that makes total sense to me. And thank God I don't have that, and I don't know how he does it. But he got on the right medicines that help quiet the voices and keep them thinking more clearly. And he's got 2 college degrees, and he's doing wonderfully. But it's been a long road. In fact, when he was first diagnosed, we were just like anybody else. We were totally ignorant and no idea how to cope with his illness. And he was bad. He was real bad. And people look at us now and say, oh, it's great, your family's so supportive. And it is. But we didn't just wake up there. We all went through hell. There's a lot of blame, a lot of finger pointing, a lot of ignorance. But ultimately, we have all rallied around my brother. And, there's 150 of us Quinns. We all live in a small shoebox. And but we support each other. And I think that has been a big part of my brother's successful recovery is he knows we're there for him. And we have his best interest at heart. And he may not always like what we have to tell him, but we have to be his reality check. And, we all do that for the people we love. Sometimes I need a reality check, too. So even though that can be hard to give up your perception and adopt somebody else's, sometimes that's what it takes. I don't know, Carly or Chris, if you're out there, how long you want me to go? I know the band is on standby, but we also got a late start, so I'm not sure. But I guess let me know if I should shut up. But the shame and stigma that comes with these disorders is so unfair. I mean, I think I mentioned to me, my brother fighting for his recovery from mental illness, from schizophrenia, he's my hero. I don't know how he does it every day. He's up, working toward his recovery, trying to overcome these challenges that he has because of his brain chemistry. I don't know how he does it, and he keeps a positive attitude and helps others. He's one of the kindest people you'll ever know if you don't know him. And he's a real big guy. That's like 6'4", 250 pounds, I don't know. And people say, oh, aren't you scared that he'll hurt you or hit you, or maybe in the middle of the night he'll come in your room and do something to you. He is like the nicest guy in the world, and he wouldn't hurt anybody or anything. And it's so unfair and based, again, on ignorance and stigma. So please don't fall into that. But, they say 1 in 5 people are having a mental issue right now. And 1 in 3 of us will have an issue at some point in our lifetime. So if you have a perception that, woe is me and everybody else is okay, that's not the case. And a lot of people will say, well, why? Why me? Why me, God? And which something like a brain disorder will make you either believe in God or walk away from him. People usually go one way or the other. I'm not saying what's right or wrong, but that's just kind of what happens. But asking why is one of the most pointless questions, I think, that you can ask. Because it just is. There's not really a good explanation. What answer would satisfy you? So you feel like, okay, well, I'm going through this because God wants me to, or it's going to make me a better person in the long run. There is no good explanation. But what are you going to do about your state? That's the real question. So people spend days, weeks, years wondering why. It is. And what are you going to do to change it? Just expecting someone to come along and save you and fix it is not realistic. And I feel like a lot of people, that's what they want. They want somebody to come along with a magic bullet and just fix it. And guess what? It's not going to happen. You have to be in charge of your recovery and make it happen. And that's where you get back to goals like Rick had asked about. So we should all educate ourselves. We should all stop judging. Understand if you've been diagnosed with a brain disorder that you're never going back to the way you were. People say, "Oh, I just want my life back." well, the life you had could be gone forever. Damn, man, it's deep for real. Well, yeah, it probably is. What helps me the most? I'm not sure. I have no diagnosed mental illness, so I'm not sure. Helps me. Music has always been my refuge, I guess. You know, with your partner. Okay. Okay, thank you. I guess it's Chris or Carly. Um, Music has always been my refuge. If I'm having a bad day, I put on some music. It'll lift my spirits right now. You know, put on something I love, and sometimes I might even put on something that's sad and have a good cry and get it out. I mean, since my son died, I cry at a moment's notice. I've never been much of a crier, but since losing my son, a viral infection 2 years ago, out of the blue, and he was dead almost the whole day before I even knew about it, and no chance to say goodbye, I love you, nothing, just gone. Um, Music, and sometimes a good cry is my therapies. But if you're in a bad place, like I said, change what you're doing. If you're inside, go outside. If you're in a quiet, play music. I mean, make some changes and see what works for you. You should know what gives you peace. Water's always made me feel peaceful. But I go to the river, or even a fish tank, or a lake, whatever's around. Bathtub might be pushing it, but water to me is very soothing. Or even the stars. Go outside and look at the sky. That works for me. But everybody's different. Some people love to hear the weather, other white noise. Everybody's different, so you need to know what works for you. Let's see. What else? I guess, and you probably all are doing this, consider all the treatment options that are out there. Yeah, there's medication, and for a lot of people that's going to be key, but not everybody. Some people need support groups, counseling, peer support, and our NAMI 6 County offers a lot of those programs, and Allwell does, and so you probably all are participating in those to some degree, I hope, or at least know that's available. But we know treatment works for, I think they said 90% of the people. If you're working your treatment program, there is recovery. So if you're not working your recovery program or you're not being treated and you're having issues, it's foolish, quite honestly. I know none of us want to admit we have a problem, and I think that's one of the big reasons people don't get treatment is because you're admitting you have a problem, and we all like to think we don't, or we don't want to admit it. And getting help is, I guess, admitting that you have an issue. But that's okay. 'Cause, we almost all have an issue. We all have something that makes us not quite normal. And some of you may know my girlfriend Jackie Baker. When we first started dating, she said, I hope you're not going to be normal because that's going to be really boring and I'll break up with you. I said, well, I think you're pretty safe there. No one describes me as normal, I don't think. I don't. And I wouldn't want to be because that would be boring. We provide a lot of spontaneous fun. But a lot of the reasons we have issues is we don't have enough serotonin or enough dopamine in our brain. So that's a good thing to think about too, is you can take supplements. I know that it will help some of those. And now in the case, my case, the Percocet I was on for, I'm not sure, 20 years or so, drained my body of dopamine. So, your body naturally makes dopamine, but my body quit making it because I was taking Percocet for so long. And my body quit making dopamine. So when I quit the drug, I got real bad restless leg. Restless leg, what do they call it? I don't know. But, so I've taken medication for that. And of course there's a side effect for everything. That kind of sucks too. But if our body quits making something, we've got to get it somehow. So we're all human, all flawed, and we're all trying to just find a little happiness and get through to tomorrow. And we'll do it. And as my brother tells me, Paul, if we're going to get through this, we have to do it together. And remember that. And lift up the people around you that we all need lifted up. We all need somebody sometimes to give us a little boost, give us a little support, let us know everything's okay. And be that person for the people around you. You see somebody having a bad day, go put your arm around them and tell them, you understand, or you're there for them, and encourage them that tomorrow's going to be a better day. Because big thing with suicide, which is taken off, is more prevalent than ever, is people feel hopeless. And they feel pain, and the only way they can think they're going to get out of the pain is to end it. And they just need somebody to come up to them and say, it'll be okay. You can make it to tomorrow. I'll stay with you, or whatever. Find somebody to be with them. That's all we need. I lost everything. I mentioned I had a big house in Dublin. 7 cars is ridiculous. And I was unhappy. I was living in my basement, sleeping on the floor in the basement. I was in a real bad place. And a friend of mine came down to my basement. He said, Paul, I need you. I need your marketing expertise. He had a small business, and he needed my help. And that's all I needed to hear, was somebody needed me. Because for whatever reason, I felt like a worthless individual with nothing to offer. And somebody came and said, I need you. And that changed my entire life right there. And I was like, oh, wow, I do have something to offer. And I helped him with his small business, and he was able to turn some things around and be successful again. And if he hadn't come down there, I don't know where I'd be. I might be dead. I was taking, at that time, Percocet and Xanax, which I know now. For a minute, I sold life insurance, and I found out if you're taking Percocet and Xanax, they won't underwrite you because you're going to die pretty soon. There's a wake-up call. So, tomorrow, there's always a chance for a better day. But take the steps necessary to get there. Have a plan. I just want to say, before I sign off here, if you have an addiction and you're trying to quit, you need to make a plan. And if you don't make a plan, you're going to do what you always did. At a time where you tend to want to use whatever that situation might be, it could be a people, place, or thing that prompts you to want to use, willpower's not going to get it done. You have to have a specific plan. What am I going to do when that situation occurs where I want to do that drug? You better have somebody to call, somebody to go, an activity to do instead of doing the drug, or you're going to do the drug. I talk to people all the time, so what's your plan for quitting? I'm just quitting. That's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yeah, well, it's probably not going to work. You need a more specific plan than that. So, anyway, I could go on forever on this, but I want to hear some of the music, as I'm sure you do too. 80s on Board is awesome. Harley Dalton, Harry Taylor, Brian Keys, all good people, friends of mine, and very talented musicians, and I really appreciate them joining us. Oh, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. I have lots of more good stuff. But anyway, anybody's welcome to message me through Facebook, chat about something, or had a question or something I didn't address that you wanted to. I have a lot of lived experience, so I'm happy to share anything that I know. And it's my perspective. Take it for what it's worth. You probably have your own. But thanks for joining me. I hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to checking out the music here from 80s on Board. Thank you. Signing off.